welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to be reviewing something that was released at Sephora about 4 to 6 weeks ago. I actually have been using it during that time, but I've been so busy that I haven't had a chance to film anything, so that's why I've been kind of quiet. But this is a company I'd never heard of, and the name is pretty vulgar. And it's kind of interesting, a very interesting name for company. Kind of contradicts itself, much like myself. I can be pretty vulgar too sometimes. It depends on the day. But it is a unique name and it did catch my eye. The packaging is just beautiful. I just want to start off by saying the packaging actually is something quite special. Now I did get 2 of the palettes. This is the Early Bird eyeshadow palette. And I did pick up 2 of the, they're kind of like lip glosses, but they're the metallic, because the metallic trend's really big. But it's a couple of those, and I'll be reviewing those as well. But this is the neutral palette, and I'm going to start with this one, because I've actually used it, unlike the other items. I'm still working through things. But, so just to show the packaging, look at that. It is absolutely beautiful. It really is. And then on the back, there's more of this motif with the key. And you know, it's funny, it actually reminds me of, and I think almost every little girl was forced to read this growing up, The Secret Garden. And I was the biggest tomboy, and even I read The Secret Garden, and I actually enjoyed it. So this kind of reminds me of that. It's very Victorian, very beautiful. Just the aesthetics are just gorgeous on this. It gets better. You open it up, and it's a birdcage. How cool is that? I know. So I really love this. And you know what else I love about this palette is that there's been a lot of warm palettes coming out, and with this one, it's a nice mix of everything. I actually think most of the colors are neutral, but there are some warm colors like on the top and here, and then some cool, but I think for the most part it's very neutral, so it works with almost everyone. And it was really easy to work with. You know, it was easy. If I did use one of the warmer colors like this one here, I could just cool it down with one of the crease colors. Now, on to the actual review of the product. This is where it goes a little bit offline, and here's why. So, the lighter colors are on top and the darker colors are below, as you can see. What I found while using this is the lighter colors didn't perform as well, and as you went down, the performance went up. So the first 2 rows, the 2 rows of 7, yeah, and then these last 5 perform pretty darn well. So I'm going to show swatches on the side, but I also want to do a live swatch just so you can see. So this is what it looks like. So this is the top row. Now, you can see that there just is not a lot of pigmentation, and I was kind of going for it. So I'm going to wipe, I have a wipey here, wipe in between. So what I'm going to do here is the next 4, and you can see I'm kind of going for it. And here we go. So it's still, you know, really light. These do perform better, so that's nice. But then you'll see a big difference, and I can't fit all these on my arm, I apologize, but you'll see a difference in how it works. You can see that the pigmentation gets better the further down you go. And then these are the last 3, which just perform really well, actually. Ta-da! Huge difference. So yeah, it is really noticeable. And it was kind of frustrating a little bit for me when I was trying to create a look. And one of the reasons is usually I find with palettes that the shimmers tend to do better than the mattes. I find that to be the case a lot, or the foils. And these are shimmers, not foils, but the shimmers actually aren't very strong in this. They, I would put it over my eye, I'd keep going, keep going, keep going, and it never really got as opaque as I wanted, and that was kind of frustrating. And that was even using my finger, because usually with shimmers I will use my finger because I feel like there's better payoff than using a brush. But even with these, it just did not work the way I wanted. So let me see here. So these 2 are shimmers. So I mean, you can see it shows up, but the more you would rub onto it, the more it would dissipate. and it just didn't give the look that I wanted. And I just found that a little bit frustrating, that it just wasn't as opaque as I wanted. And maybe it's because the colors are really light, and I thought maybe that was it because I'm also a very pale person, but it didn't really get, it was almost like a semi shimmer rather than a full coverage shimmer. So that was a little frustrating. I also found with the shimmers, and this is me, it may be just me, but I have really oily skin. So I have a way of prepping my eye to make sure that the colors stay all day. And usually what I do is I put a primer, then I put foundation on, then I put like a powder, or usually like an eyeshadow, a lighter eyeshadow, cover the full eye, and then start painting from there. So that works for me. With the shimmers, in this case of the Pretty Vulgar one, it didn't help much. With the shimmers, within 2 hours, the sparkles had gone, and what was left was a matte that was 2 to 3 shades darker than the colors here because it started absorbing the oil. Yeah, so it changed the look that I had originally left the house with. No shimmer after 2 hours at all. It just looked like a matte. And that was a little frustrating, so it didn't wear as well as I'd like. The rest of these on the matte side here would last, I'd say, 3 to 4 hours before you could see that it was changing color. And with the darker ones down here, they lasted 3 to 5 hours depending. They definitely were there at the end of the day, but you could see that there was some fading and that the oil had kind of taken over, which was a little bit frustrating. Not that it creased in the eye, but you could definitely tell that there was wear. The other thing was this. So Unruffled is this gorgeous color. If you're a fair-skinned girl like me, this is the perfect crease color. I love this. So I used it several times. I used all of these colors 3 to 4 times, and this was the crease color that I kept going to. Beautiful. Just, I love this color. It's like this mauve-y lavender, you know, it's this mauve-y, darker mauve color. So what would happen is I'd put it in my crease, and then I'd start working it, and then it would start to disappear. You could definitely see it, but once you started adding other colors to it, so you go into the edge and add in another color, it would almost completely disappear. So then I would have to start all over again to get more color, which was frustrating because you're using more product. And it wasn't that there was a lot of fallout, because there really isn't a lot of fallout with these actually, so that was a nice thing. But they are a little bit powdery, but without the fallout. So that was the problem, is that they would just wash away to nothing. Not so much with the darker colors. You know, the darker colors do perform better. Here you go. If you work it, it's there. It stays really well. It wasn't necessarily the easiest blending though. You can even see me using my finger. It wasn't the easiest blending. So there were some issues with longevity and then the blendability, or blending out to zip. Yeah, I know, and I really hate saying this. It's really disappointing because I really am in love with this. Aesthetically, this is one of the most beautiful lines I've seen in a while. It is absolutely gorgeous, but there were some issues. So who would this be good for? I think somebody who doesn't necessarily have oily skin. If you have oily skin, you may have a problem with this, but there may be a way that you will figure out how to make this work for you. I just couldn't. And I wore every one of these colors 3 to 4 times, and it was the same result. I used 3 different primers and the same result. So it just didn't work for me. But it may work for you if you have drier skin or combination skin, or you just have a foolproof way of keeping your makeup where it is. Now, the way I do it does tend to work if I'm using something like Lorac or Anastasia Beverly Hills. If I use their palettes, it stays all day. And by the end of the day, it looks like it hasn't moved. So that's kind of my surefire way, and this didn't live up to my test. So the pros, absolute beautiful packaging. You've got to be kidding me. Gorgeous. Pretty Vulgar. It's an interesting name. You're not going to forget it. It is quite clever. I mean, the packaging is gorgeous. The colors are wonderful. This color scheme is perfect for everyone. For light-skinned girls, you know, women with darker complexion, everyone. You know, warm, cool, neutral. It has it all. Those are the pros. The cons, the longevity. I got 3 to 5 hours. The shimmers disappear really quickly, especially if you have oily skin. Some of these in the crease would fade because they're powdery and would disappear, so you have to use more product. And the blendability wasn't always there, unfortunately. I know, and I hate saying it because this is the best packaging and such a cool name, and I was really excited by this, but unfortunately, for the price of, I think it was $35, I really can't justify keeping it for 5 colors that work well enough while 7 don't. So unfortunately, I don't think I could justify keeping it, and I want to and just stare at it, but that's just ridiculous. I can't do that. So here's what I will say. Maybe there's a possibility that I ended up getting a bad batch, or it just doesn't play right with my skin type, and that's a possibility too. So you may want to give it a try, see how it works for you. I hope it works better for you than it did for me, because you will be so lucky, because this is gorgeous. But I haven't given up on Pretty Vulgar. I have the brighter set that I have yet to use, and I'm going to try out this coming week, and a couple of those lacquer-like lipsticks. Not lacquer lipsticks, but they're like lip gloss, and I can't wait to try them, and I'll let you know how that goes. So that's my review, sadly. Ugh. But until next time, have a fabulous day. Bye.